So more and more Americans are realizing how bad Donald Trump is as the economy is absolutely sinking. And as I always tell you guys, follow the money because this is what people care about. They care about jobs, they care about food on the table. And we got some new data in that shows you what people are saying. Most Americans continue to rate the US economy negatively as partisan gap widens. And I want to go through this stuff with you and also talk about this. I've covered Trump for years and I've never seen him this scared. This is a reporter who knows Trump very well, went through all the various scandals that Trump is involved in. And whenever I tell my wife about this stuff, it's always the same. Like, she's like, any one of these things would sink a regular politician in a regular country, right? And Trump's got scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. It's absolutely crazy. And then not only that, his mental and physical health seem to be in decline, right? So you have scandals plus that, plus a terrible economy, terrible policy. There's no way this is sustainable. Let's read some description of this together. It says, these days, he's not what he once was. He's usually late to work and early to bed, and he spends his weekends golfing. And I think you guys know this stuff already, right? But it's interesting to hear this person's description of it. As Trump grows older and increasingly more mentally incontinent, he sits in a stew of his own political flatulence while he mumbles incoherent random phrases, right? So he's basically farting out random phrases that Trump always says, like nothing ever seen before, while blaming the violent radical left and fake media, along with a dozen other imagined enemies. Like a good bill collector, he always closes with, quote, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." And that's who Trump is. And again, he went through several things of scandals that Trump is involved with, but basically boils down to Trump is in decline. He's just an old guy. He's sick. That's basically what it is. And so how long can people keep this charade going that everything is fine? Basically what they do every day at the White House, they have to like steer your attention to something stupid. And this is the stupid thing of today is now they want to do a coin with Trump on it. So seriously, this is actually from the treasurer here. It says, U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach. No fake news here. The first drafts honoring America's 250th birthday and POTUS are real, right? Fight, fight, fight coin. It's $1, I guess, just like the Charlie Kirk coin. And I was thinking about this today because someone actually wrote a really interesting comment in our community, and we have a lot of great people who kind of go through this stuff also with us together and help us wrap our heads around it. And let me read this to you guys from HMAD. HMAD says, many rural parts of the U.S. still lack reliable internet, which limits access to independent media. Cable industry mergers seek to control these areas and spread propaganda via mainstream news sources. And this is actually a really important point to understand in the USA is you may have family members or friends who are MAGA and they just sit around and watch Fox News all day, right? And, you know, any intelligent person could sit and watch Fox News for a couple minutes. You're like, what the heck is this, garbage? My wife always says the same thing when she watches this. Like, are these people for real? And because like I said, anyone who's any intelligence, you can figure out very quickly that it's a bunch of nonsense. But this is just the reality of it. And the sad state of USA, if you make internet difficult to access, if you make internet expensive, basically, if you're not helping people to be educated, essentially what it is, or giving people the tools to look up stuff whenever they want, make it easy, then people will stay in their little bubbles. Because in this day and age, guys, it's very, very easy to figure out if someone's lying or not. It's very easy. You get just like, someone lying. and you'll pop a bunch of stuff and you read very quickly. But to be fair, just imagine if you don't have access to the internet. That's why this person mentioned, say, rural communities. And for you, the internet's like really, really slow. It's cumbersome. And also, even if you were to access it, maybe you can't understand what it is anyway. And I'm being a little bit mean here, but I'm just telling the truth on some stuff. And this is sort of why, for me, I think it's really important to strengthen education in the USA. I think, teaching people how to read, how to think critically, right? That's why I was professor for so many years. I just think learning is absolutely fantastic. And I always say the same thing. You have a right to make up your own mind, etc. But I actually want to help you in having access to all information that's out there. That's why I show you guys as much as I possibly can. I know it's tough in this day and age because you're just bombarded by like all this stuff and you just, don't know what to think about it sometimes. Like, for me, I don't even know what to think about this stuff because, well, I mean, I can tell you it's ridiculous, but it's not something I had ever thought I'd ever see. I'll put it that way. Like, for example, I grew up in Portland. This is my hometown. Trump administration activates 200 National Guard troops to Portland. It's like what? Like, what are we doing? And we're putting military in the streets. And we just did the last video. We were talking about using Black Hawk helicopters to repel on apartment buildings in Chicago. Now we're using military in Portland. It's the whole thing is ridiculous. And the way the Portland people described it, local officials, because they're essentially having a fight whether or not Trump has the legality to do this. I'll read it. It says, we're calling Trump hyperbole, political posturing, right? Quote, we ultimately have a perception versus reality problem. This is coming from a senior deputy city attorney. This is in Portland. The perception is that it is World War II out here. The reality is that this is a beautiful city with a sophisticated resource that can handle the situation, right? So Trump tries to convince you on Fox News it's all World War II and violence and destruction, radical left this, radical left that, right? In Portland, so I have to stick the military. And for people, again, who say live in rural parts of the country or, whatever your situation is, if you don't have access to good information or fast internet, then all you believe is Fox News all day. And I always try to just talk to you like real people here. The idea that you need to use the military in this way is just ludicrous. I'm just being frank with you. It's just ludicrous. And when the governor and your local officials aren't asking for help, again, ludicrous, right? The Trump people will then say, this is according to a attorney named Eric Hamilton, US DOJ, so this is one of Trump's people. I guess there are cruel radicals who have laid siege to Portland. That's what he's claiming. Here's the thing, though. When you actually ask Americans what's going on, they kind of know already. The government's going to try to hide the job data from you, right? So it's Jobs Friday without jobs numbers, right? So we were supposed to get jobs numbers today, but the government shut down, so no data. But you already kind of know from your family and friends, from your personal experience what the market is. But, the reason why you look at this job stuff is you want to get like a larger picture of, is it just your market or is it like everywhere? ADP, there's a private jobs data. You can see things have been going pretty sour for a while. And then when you actually ask Americans about the economy, this is coming from the latest Pew data, it's actually pretty significant. 3/4 of Americans, that's 74%, describe economic conditions as only fair or poor, right? So the majority is saying the economy is not great, right? Fair or poor. And then you take a look at the actual data here. This is what people are concerned about, okay? What are the reasons Americans cite for their views of national economic conditions? So 74% say fair or poor, 26% say good or excellent. The people who say on the economy's terrible side, number one is the high inflation is what they're saying. Negative mentions of Trump or GOP, meaning that it's Trump and the Republicans' fault. Negative mentions of tariffs, right? So you got high inflation, you got Trump, you got tariffs, high cost of living, wealth inequality, high cost of food and groceries, lack of good paying jobs or low wages. That's the main reasons what people are saying that things aren't great. And that's the majority. 74% of the people are saying those kind of things. I want to give you a different perspective, say on the Trumper side. So what are the 26% of the Americans that are saying, oh, wow, things are excellent or good? They say general economic growth or improvement. That's what they say. That's just what it is. General economic growth or improvement. Okay. Then they say inflation is down. And I'm always like, who are these people who say said things? Okay. Some people say that. Then they mention the stock market. Then they say how much they like Trump. Then they say low unemployment. And then some say Trump and GOP negatively, which is kind of interesting where they're talking about, even why things are good, then they mention negative Trump. I don't get that one at all, honestly. But there's a lot of things about MAGA that I don't get. And I think a lot of these people live in sort of this weird, whatever to say, culty world to where they try to, fit the world views against the reality. You could call it cognitive dissonance. But it's kind of like, putting yourself in a situation, what we call it the ostrich situation, to where the bad news is out there, but you'd rather just bury your head in the sand. I think anyone who goes to the grocery store, looks at the price of houses, understands like that companies aren't really hiring that much right now. I think you guys already know this stuff, but it all depends on your particular situation. And the biggest one is, for example, I keep hearing that young people are really, really struggling. I think, young people unemployment is around 10%. And that's sort of more like an official number, but it could be higher depending on if people are reporting or not. If you look at what's going on right now, it's ridiculous. We're still in a shutdown. Shutdown will stretch into another week as Senator standoff continues. I think they had a fourth vote. We'll see what happens. I'll just say this. It looks really, really ugly because you have the Republicans who just frankly aren't serious. I mean, you can see it. And you have Trump who's basically absent. That's essentially what we're facing here. And then whenever I do check on the grifts that he's doing, because I always want to focus on the money stuff. Now, today's grift, exclusive Trump administration eyes stake in company developing Greenland rare earth mines. So I guess we're going to try to make money in Greenland. I mentioned this last video, I just want to mention it again. They're still trying to start a war or already in a war or conflict, however you want to call it, with Venezuela. I think they killed 4 people. It's really hard to say what's going on down there. We're spending millions of dollars on this thing. Americans need help, and that's what Trump is up to, right? Hey, let's go make more money in Greenland. Let's start wars. Now they're telling people this is kids will pay you cash to leave the country. They're calling it cash bribes for kids. Seriously. Trump administration offers migrant children cash to self-deport. And I do want to show you a little bit of, I don't know, you could call it positive news. I want to be sensitive about these type of topics because you never know what to make of this stuff. And that's regarding Gaza. I want to make it really clear. I want the conflict to end. I do not want any loss of life. And what I mean by I don't know what to make of it is because sometimes you'll hear about Hamas that Trump has a deal, or Israel says we're not going to fight, then they go back to fighting the next day. You never know what to make of these things. So I do sincerely hope though that they come up with some sort of peace plan. I don't care how it's done or whatever. Just stop the fighting. And I think that's a reasonable thing to say about this stuff. Regarding the Trump thing, I guess you could simmer in a similar tone. Trump just needs to be out of office any which way possible. But also, to be fair, it's not just Trump. It's his administration is just completely incompetent, and they don't care about regular people. And that's the part that really frustrates me. If sometimes the economies can go bad. It just happens, right? Any number of things can go wrong. You have a crazy storm, right? And suddenly there's no crops, and as a nation, you got to okay, how can we get through this together? But you want administration is like, okay, that's the real problem. Let's try to come to this together. But when you talk about the Trumpers, it's like they live in this crazy, bizarro, pretend world, and they'll act like they're winning all the time. However, when you look at the data, and plus when you just ask to your friends and yourself, things aren't great out there. It doesn't mean it's going to be like this forever. And I just want to tell you the situation that, this does go in cycles. Trump and people get out. Yes, there'll still be problems that exist, but at least get people in leadership positions that will address the reality of it and work to help the benefit of just regular people. So that's my thoughts on this stuff. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you all in the next video.